This is Touched by Heaven. Everyday encounters with God. Those moments where heaven touches earth and the miraculous happens. And it's God saying, I am right here, right now. Like in this episode, there is a family still giving thanks because their home should have burned down. Everything says the home should have burned down, but it didn't. The episode is entitled, Tom Hanks, We Need You.
Why does it have to be human or divine? Maybe human is divine.
Let me get back to you on that one, Tom, okay? First, I want you to think of the word press. What comes to mind when I say press? Fake news? Or maybe you completed the sentence. I said press, and you thought, my pants. Or maybe you saw your index finger hitting a button that says press. Those things are never connected, by the way. Like at the crosswalk, trying to get the walk button to work. Is this connected? They're never connected. Or maybe... like my son, what was he, 7, 8 years old? He hit the press button, nothing happened. On the time machine, he built this time machine. He built it to specs. He followed all the directions, used only the finest cardboard. And he hit that press button, nothing. I think there was a recall that year on the buttons. It might have been even a class action lawsuit. All I know is I would love to have that time machine right now, sitting inside that cardboard. I'd love that. I'd like to go back 2,000 years to see something that you can still see today. That would be cool. Yeah. But, first I need to tell you that I am your host, Trapper Jack. But I'm not properly attired just yet. Yeah, sure, I've got the usual pink pajamas with the penguins on the bottom. But I'm missing one key article, and it is a hat. A very special hat. A reporter's hat, because I am going to be doing some investigative reporting in today's episode. I need a special hat. You know, the kind, you saw the old movies, the 40s, 50s, 60s, where the reporters had that hat, that fedora, and then they had the card with the word press on it, right? Now then, and that press card was slipped into the band of the hat so you knew who they were. I need one of those, and I've created one of those right here because I need to understand something. We just went through Easter, right? We had regular Easter, Orthodox Easter. We've had all the Easters, right? Okay. Now, without the crucifixion and resurrection, there is no Christianity. If Jesus doesn't rise, there's no Christianity. So here's the question. Why is it God? So why? Why is it God? Why didn't you give us a touched by heaven moment? Why didn't you give it a moment where heaven and earth collide, where you gave us a permanent sign of that the resurrection is real, that it happened at a certain place, a certain time? That's right. You did. You did. It's called the miracle of the Holy Fire. And it just happened again in Jerusalem at the tomb of Christ. Orthodox Easter weekend, there it was, fire coming out of the stone where Jesus laid. And this has been going on since the church began. It was written about way back when the church began. And it's so important to God, he does it every year. It's amazing. So let me explain how this works. The patriarch in his loose-fitting robes, right? He is patted down, so to speak, to make sure he has nothing on him that could possibly start a fire. They pat him down. Yep. They do this for two reasons. One, to make sure there's nothing that could start a fire. And secondly, they like to play a game called Guess My Weight. So then the patriarch goes into the tomb where they've also investigated to make sure nothing can start a fire, right? And he prays. And fire comes out of the stone. And guess what? If somebody actually found out that the church was faking this kind of thing, what would happen? If that's a lie, then what else is a lie? And then everything crumbles. You can't risk that, can you? And this is, like I say, it's been going on since the early church was written about way back then. And then the patriarch comes out of the tomb, 33 candles in each hand, all aglow now, and then the fire begins to be passed from one person to another. So you have a miracle of the holy fire inside the tomb. Then more miracles happen because the fire has some special properties. For the first few minutes, it doesn't burn. It's warm, and it has a life of its own. Not only does it not burn right away, it kind of jumps to people too. It's kind of jumping around. And the people I've talked to who have been there say it can be like a laser light show, the way the fire just jumps from one person up to a lamp or to another person's candle. A completely darkened church, and the light of Christ is spread all about. And then that fire is put on planes and set to countries all over the world in the Orthodox faith, and it goes to church after church. And last year, for the first time, it came to the United States, and guess what? It performed at least 2 miracles, because I've got those 2 on this episode a little later on. And I bet there were more. So what happened? Why don't all Christians celebrate the miracle of the holy fire? Well, once upon a time it did. Once upon a time the church was all together, right? And then it did something that it tells us not to do. It got a divorce. It did. Irreconcilable differences. They had to go to court and everything, and who gets custody. They had to separate stuff. Who gets the dog, who gets the furniture and all that kind of stuff. Who gets the tomb of Christ, who gets Rome. God, you really blew it. You should have given everybody their own miracle along the way. I don't know why you didn't. Catholics get theirs. Protestants get theirs. I mean, everyone should get their own sign. But no, he just leaves us with the one at the tomb of Christ, that there was a resurrection, and everyone ignores it. Now, I don't get that. Now, ignorance is forgivable because most Catholics and Protestants don't know about the miracle of the Holy Fire because their leaders don't tell them, even if their leaders do know. And some do. They just kind of sit on it.
On the day of my judgment, when I stand before God, and he asks me, why did I kill one of his true miracles? What am I going to say? That it was my job. It was my job.
Hey, isn't that Tom Hanks? Yeah, there's more Tom Hanks, but yeah, that was Tom Hanks. Right? Okay, so I need to get to the bottom of this, and I know who to ask. I listen to Catholic radio a lot. I learn a lot from Catholic radio, EWTN, and on Wednesday afternoons, Father Mitch, this guy is amazing what he knows about history, Old Testament, New Testament, Christian history. He's remarkable, and I met him. He's a wonderful guy, and he's the best possum shooting priest I've ever met because he loves to go hunting. He loves his hunting. So anyway, do I call him? Do I call him on the call-in show, or do I send him an email and ask him about? I'll send him an email and see if he will answer this question.
Another one from Philip here.
Being an investigative reporter, I used my fake radio name, Philip.
Father, is there a reason why Catholics don't join in the celebration of the miracle of the Holy Fire along with our Orthodox brethren on Orthodox Easter at the Holy Sepulchre? The evidence indicates since early in the church history that the fire comes out of the stone that Jesus was laid upon in the tomb. Shouldn't all Christians be celebrating this incredible sign from God, or do we question the validity of the annual event? Well, first of all, Philip, this is a part of the liturgy of the Orthodox for Holy Saturday. This is something that happens on Holy Saturday. And normally the Catholics and the Orthodox are celebrating Easter on different days. And even when they do celebrate, some years we celebrate the same day. And in those years, and it's because of the way the lunar cycle in relationship to the Gregorian calendar used by the Latins and the Julian calendar used by the Greeks. It's just a matter of using the Julian calendar or the Gregorian calendar. And there's serious talk about, everybody using the Julian calendar together. That already in the Kingdom of Jordan, for instance.
Okay, this goes on for a couple minutes, so he jumps over. He doesn't mention the fire at all. But I am not going to take that sitting down. No, I stood up and then I squatted and I did some deep knee bends and then I said, I'll call him next time. So 2 weeks later, this time I'm calling in.
Thank you for holding. May I have a name?
Philip.
Okay. Well, what's your question today?
My question is, because we're at Easter. And I state the question. Can I add to it, too? Wouldn't it help fire up the lukewarm? Wouldn't it help give atheists pause if there actually was physical evidence that 2 billion people are saying, look at this over here? Wouldn't that perhaps be a great form of evangelization? So why aren't we all celebrating this fire?
Please keep your radio off.
Okay, so I'm getting set to go. So about 10 minutes later, he comes back on and says,
hey, I was told that we actually answered this question 2 weeks ago.
And I tell him, no, that was my email. It's just that he didn't address the fire part of it, and I'm still looking for the fire answer. And I should say here that I'm thinking that maybe they're thinking that I'm thinking that they're thinking that I'm thinking that they're thinking that I'm Orthodox and trying to promote my faith over Catholicism. And no, I'm Catholic. But I just like the whole truth, just give me the truth.
Well, the producer is telling me that we're not going to address it any further on the show today. So sorry about that.
Then I realize I've got the wrong hat on. I've got the the reporter hat on. Let me take this report. That's not the hat I need. Where is it? Here it is. I need a marketing hat, and I've got one. They look like baseball caps flipped around the other way, kind of a rally cap. Yeah, that kind of thing. And I need a piece of paper and a pencil and say, Dear Orthodox Church. When was the last time you ever heard this done? Paper? Pencil? Why do I feel like Jimmy Fallon? Thank you. Dear Orthodox Church, hello. How are you? I am fine. How about this crazy weather? No, forget that part. My name is Trapper. Doesn't it sound like a guy who would get along great with a possum shooting No, scratch that. Scratch that. You have a marketing problem on the miracle of the Holy Fire. The answer is Tom Hanks. This is where we get to where is Tom Hanks in all of this thing. I'm telling you, Tom Hanks is the answer. Everybody loves Tom Hanks. I even sound like I'm talking like Tom Hanks.
And did I cry? No! And you know why?
No.
Because there's no crying in baseball. There's no crying in baseball!
No. All right. There's one key element about Tom Hanks. Here's what you should do next year. Give him millions of dollars. I don't care how much he wants. Have Tom Hanks go into the tomb with the patriarch. Give him some candles. Give him something to say. Give him some prayers. Doesn't matter. Because I'm telling you, when he sees fire come out of that stone, he's going to react and the world's going to notice it. Because Tom has a special connection to
Fire! There you go!
Now we're talking. Did you see the movie Castaway? Yeah. He gets a fire going. He gets excited. Can you imagine if he sees God start a fire out of rock?
Go! We couldn't get much higher.
You might have to pay some music royalties to the Doors.
It's a signal fire!
Well, it's a holy fire is what it is. He would come out of that tomb so fast with fire blazing on those candles. I'm telling you, cameras rolling, people go nuts. People all over the world would say, what's Tom Hanks going nuts over? The miracle of the holy fire.
Yeah! Yes! Look what I have created! I have made fire! I have made fire!
Settle down, Tom. Come on. A little humility goes a long way. Finish my letter here. No, not best. Warm. Yeah, warmest regards without burning. Trapper. There we go. Now, I'd mentioned that the fire is taken from Jerusalem, put on planes, and sent out to the world. And last year, for the first time, the Holy Fire was put on a plane and brought to the U.S.
We're here.
Including Michigan. That's where Dana Beagle lives, and she and her friend Chris and Chris's daughter Leah will be joining us. Oh, and their dog Gabby will be in there.
Well, hopefully Gabby won't bark if UPS comes or something.
Anytime I hear dogs barking, I know there's a fire in the barn and Gramps is under a beam. I watched Lassie. Dana's friend Chris
Pefkaros.
Ooh, you even roll the R. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Wow.
Well, Leah's here too.
Hi.
Leah is 17 years old.
And she's beautiful.
And with this group come two miracles of the Holy Fire.
Well, I found out that it was at a local Orthodox church.
Dana Beagle.
And so I just went up to the church and he was all excited and he goes, "You want some?" And I'm like, yeah, of course. And so I brought it home and he suggested that I light like a pilot light with it in case it ever went out. So I have our water heater pilot light lighted with it. Well, I had given some to Chris previously and then hers went out. So she said, "Could I get some more of the Holy Fire?" I'm like, "Oh, geez, absolutely." So I got a couple of unscented pillar candles and the three of us met for dinner and I had them wrapped in towels in a metal wastebasket and I left them in my car while we were at dinner because I couldn't obviously take them into the restaurant.
Wait a minute. So you've got fire in your car.
Absolutely. We were seated in the restaurant so I could see my car and we were right across from a fire station. So
It exploded. You could see it. We had front seats to the explosion.
Yeah. Fire department puts out miracle of holy fire in car. Yeah, that's a good headline.
So, we went out and I got in my car and I went, gosh, there's an odor in my car, but they were unscented candles, so I didn't think much of it.
Was it a bad odor?
Oh, no, it was beautiful. It was like a lovely scent. Yes.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't an odor. It was an aroma. You had an aroma going on.
Thank you. That's the word, Philip. Thank you.
So anyway, then I gave it to Chris and Leah, and I think Leah maybe held it in her lap on the way home. And they called me about halfway home, and they said, did you put some oils in these candles? And I went, no. And they said, because they have an aroma. And I said, well, I've often noticed in my house that every once in a while, there is a beautiful aroma of myrrh. And then I'll let Chris and Leah take it from here because
The scent was so strong. It was so sweet and beautiful. It actually reminded me of being in church at the Orthodox Church, but it was just so sweet and beautiful, and it was so powerful. That's why we called Dana, and I was just shocked when she said she hadn't put any oils or anything in there, and we just had the blessed ride home, Leah.
It was. It felt like I was in church. It was like so different.
And I wasn't sure what myrrh smelled like. I mean, you hear the gold, frankincense, and myrrh thing, and you learn that the myrrh was for burial. I assume to keep as the body decayed, it was to keep things a little more pleasant in there. But and then when we were at the Orthodox Church, Father said, "Would you like to smell myrrh?" And like you, it's like, oh, that's church, man. That just smells like church.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Talk about that moment when you called Dana and she says, "No, there's nothing there. It's whatever you have, came from someplace else."
Well, it was nice because we've got like almost a 50-minute ride home. So we're in a small space. So it was very relaxing. And I just felt like I was within, the presence of God and the Holy Spirit. And I felt protected and loved. And I felt like it was just a gift, very much a gift. I mean, it's one thing to get the holy fire and to get it home. And it's another thing to be able to have that amazing fragrance, that aroma. I put the fire in my living room. And that's where I keep my candles, and I have, some icons there. It's kind of like my sanctuary. I keep the doors closed. But what was most remarkable is the next morning I woke up to the aroma. So not only, because the room is closed off, it was not only the room that was very powerful, it was like throughout the house.
I would come home from school and I was like, Mom, I still smell it. And I didn't know if she was burning something else, but it was the holy fire.
You could smell it, I'd say, when you'd walk in from the front door. I think it was at least a week. And even my husband, who doesn't notice those kinds of things, he works and comes home late. And he usually doesn't, notice, like I said, that kind of stuff. He said, "What's that smell?" That's not the best word, but he was like, "What are you burning now?" Or "What are you doing?"
But for the scent to be added to it, for God to go, I always say to go to the trouble.
Yeah.
It's no trouble, but for God to go to the trouble, if you will, so that you could experience that, that's just pretty special, isn't it?
No, miracles happen all the time. And sometimes I felt like this one touched all the senses because the sense of smell is very powerful. So aroma's very special to us. I felt like God just amplified that gift.
You should tell them the story about your aunt's holy fire.
Oh, now here we go. Now we're talking here because the bigger miracle of the holy fire. Well, daughter Leah was there. Chris's mom was there. They're at Chris's aunt's house for this miracle of the holy fire.
Oh, this is remarkable. My aunt also received the holy fire from the church. And actually, Leah was there. Leah had spent the night at my aunt's home. And Leah has a long ride to school. So they were in a hurry. And they had leftover lentil soup for breakfast.
Wow.
For Greeks.
Boy, you were running late. You were running late if you were having soup for breakfast.
So that was breakfast. And she was kind of in a hurry, and she had some soup in Leah. And my aunt said there was just a little bit of soup left, like maybe 4 or 5 tablespoons left in the pan. And she took Leah to school, and then she didn't go home. She decided to go pick up my mom, and they went out shopping, and they did all these things. And long story short, my aunt gets home probably at midnight. It was 11 or 12 o'clock. It was really late. She had been gone all day. And she had my mom with her. She was going to spend the night. That's how late it was. So when they get in the house, my mom said to her sister, who's my aunt, she said, "Katina," she said, your gas stove is on." And she's like, "What?" And she looks, and it was on very low on the pot with the lentil soup. The whole house should have burned down. The pot was not burned, and the soup was not burned. It was still like just as she had left it.
Gee.
But tell her where the fire
And the holy fire is right there. My aunt keeps her holy fire on her stove in the center. She actually keeps her holy fire candle in a lantern because also, we're gone from the house and we keep these candles on. So we're trying to be really cautious with that. But at the same time, we're kind of celebrating the miracle of that light in our home. So she's kept it on just as I have for months. And when, she has it on all the time. But anyways, it was on the stove and it was right there. And my aunt and my mom had the chills and they felt very blessed and very protected because that house should have burned down. There's no explanation. The pot was there from Leah gets dropped. They probably left at 6:30 in the morning and come home at midnight.
So about 18 hours later.
Yeah. And nothing was burned. It did not smell like anything. My mom just happened to notice that the gas, the pilot, and it was hot. The actual pot was hot. That it was on the stove, but it was not burned.
Jeez.
And there was still soup in there, like a few, just how she left it. I mean, the whole pot, I've left a pot of boiling water. And, if I forget or something, I've burned a couple little pots with that. I mean, there's just no explanation besides she was touched by that miracle because, it was a tremendous blessing.
Oh, it says so much about your faith. It says so much about your family's faith. Moms, everybody. Wow.
Yeah, she's had some issues with her eyes where she had some pain and she had some doctor's appointments. And I know she said she would put her hands above the holy fire and say her prayers. And then she would take her hands and touch her eyes. I know that she has, felt better and just, managing her own health with her own miracles in her connection with God in her own home. So it's a tremendous blessing. And we're grateful actually that Dana shared that with us because here we are, Orthodox. And I had no idea that the Holy Fire was here. My mom has it going, my aunt, and we feel very blessed.
Absolutely beautiful.
So we're happy to share this story.
Thank you. God bless you guys.
Take care. God bless you, Philip.
Thank you, Dana, Chris, and Leah. And 2 Touched by Heaven moments. You had the scent and, of course, the fire that didn't happen. Just great stories here on Touched by Heaven, everyday encounters with God. And you may want to do what I'm going to do, and that is find an Orthodox church near you, see if they have the Holy Fire yet or if it's coming through, and take a candle or 2 over, and then carefully bring the fire back home into your home. And to just know that fire started at the tomb of Christ, that it's real. The resurrection is real. And that's the big takeaway today. The resurrection is real and the signs are there. The miracle of the holy fire out of stone. And every Orthodox priest, Catholic priest, Protestant minister should stand at the pulpit every Easter and say, "It happened again."
Come on, baby!
Touched by Heaven, everyday encounters with God.
Yeah!
Thank you, Tom. Tom Hanks. A phrase hit me this week, fun and faithful. That's what we try to be here. I'm no great theologian, but I sure have a passion for sharing with you how God is with us right here, right now, and how he shows that. He's right here. Let's go back to the 33 again. The patriarch holding 33 candles in his left hand, 33 in the right hand, the age of Christ when he died on the cross, right? Then I look and I see there are 33 of you supporting us through Patreon and the Patreon website. Coincidence? God incidence? 33 people. But 33 is the number we are going to build upon. The 33 of you who have been, for some reason, God bless you, continuing to contribute to what we do even when we weren't producing new material. Quite remarkable. And we thank you so much. In fact, we thank everybody who has ever given to us, supported us in what we are doing. And now we want to build on the 33. We want to build on that foundation. We want to build on the foundation that is Jesus Christ, to build more. That is through audio, video, the written word, whatever it is, wherever God wants to take this, we need your help to get there. So I've never set a goal or rewards before, and we're going to do that now with Patreon. Here's what we want. With our 33, we want to go to 100. That's our first goal, to have 100 people supporting what we do. We'll be able to do more. Okay. An enticement for you to do that is that we are now going to be producing more content for Patreon exclusively. What are you going to get for being a contributor? You're going to see some funny, or here, we're going to have audio and video, probably more audio initially, of how we do what we do, behind the scenes stuff, where my mind is going. And in those opening monologues I've been doing, I have a couple of thoughts I'll probably throw your way on the Patreon page before they actually make it into a podcast. Video. We've been doing some funny stuff on Facebook, and if you haven't caught it, we'll put it on Patreon to make sure you can see it. What else? An example would be like in the interview with Dana, Chris, and the daughter Leah. Leah's 17. She is an anomaly of 17-year-olds, of teenagers. She's remarkable. I had a little conversation with her. It didn't fit to put it in the podcast, but it fits to put it onto Patreon as just hope for the future, because she is just wonderful and her faith is beautiful. And I want to share that with you. It's a perfect place to find that. So we are going to have fun and faithful on Patreon. You'll see pictures, you'll see video, audio, behind the scenes. We just recorded a video today. I'll put some of the audio from that on there, because it's just funny how stuff happens or doesn't happen or whatever. I want you to see what we experience here as kind of a treat, if you will. The other thing we're going to do is start tithing. 10% of what you give us, we are giving back in whatever form that month. And I'll give you an example of what we're doing. This week, for example, we got to see, what do we get this month? From Patreon, we got $548, okay? So 10% of that is $55. I took that $55, added it to another $145 from us, and gave it to a family that needed it. We were going to our tax accountants, do the tax thing, and the day before we get a phone call saying that our accountant died of a heart attack, just dropped dead at age 46. Has a wife, 4 kids, youngest is 8. Just a beautiful Christian man. This guy radiated goodness, just radiated goodness. We love this guy. We saw him once a year, and we love this guy. And he died that like the day before we were going in, and it's devastating to that family, as you can imagine, and devastating to his coworkers, his friends and family. It's just out of the blue. So we wrote a $200 check for the family, for them, for whatever immediate needs they have or whatever they want to do. We want to do that on a monthly basis, whatever it is, and we may be asking your input on where that could go as well. But 10% of whatever we are blessed by from you, we will bless others. Okay. That's it. That'll wrap it up, and I hope that you click the Patreon link on the website and help us out, okay? Our goal is 100 to build on the 33 that are right there right now. God bless you, and thank you for listening. Thank you so much for listening to Touched by Heaven, Everyday Encounters with God. I'll see you next time. I'm Trapper Jack.